Wish everybody good morning. Happy 4th of July. I'm going to start on the preamble to the Constitution. Good day to start on the 4th of July. And before I begin, we had to memorize this. I remember in 5th grade, teacher required us to memorize it, but we had help with this.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Now, for younger people, we didn't have all the channels that we all have today and streaming services. We only had 3 networks: ABC, NBC, CBS, maybe the public television station, a few independents. So we had to wait for Saturday morning cartoons. And between, I think on ABC, the cartoons, they would play what's called Schoolhouse Rock. They'd have Multiplication Rock, Grammar Rock, and America Rock, and that was part of America Rock. And anybody can see the whole thing if they type in Schoolhouse Rock Preamble, and you'll see the whole cartoon. But that was an easy way for us to memorize. So let's go over this. We, the people of the United States. The reason why it starts off, we the people, is because the founders wanted to have a document that was not merely a treaty among the states. It was by the people, because they believed in government for the people, by the people. And that they were governed by the consent of the governed. So this established we the people. And they really thought about this. And so that's why it starts off with we the people of the United States of America. In order to form a more perfect union. Now what they meant by a more perfect union, it's grammatically incorrect because something is either perfect or it's not. But we think back to the Confederation, where each state was kind of had a pseudo sovereignty about itself. And so we were going to make a union of these states. And for the early part of the country, it was not known as a nation, it was known as the Union. And they wanted to make this union better than what it was under the Articles of Confederation. And one of the more famous, I got some noises going on here, quote, I remember Andrew Jackson and John C. Calhoun, where Andrew Jackson did a quote and saying to the Union, and John C. Calhoun came back with, yes to the Union, next to our liberty most dear. And so we were known as a union, so they wanted to make this a union of states. Establish justice. So by establishing justice, and to have a government that protected the rights of the people, the property rights, their life, their liberty, they had to have an enforcement mechanism. Government had to enforce any transgressions. So in a civil, on a breach of contract, it had to establish justice, or tort, negligence, or something like that, or a crime committed against somebody. That was what it meant by to establish justice. You had to have a government in order to do this. Without government, we would have an anarchy, and so each person would have their own little plot of land and really couldn't go beyond that because they're worried about anybody else if they leave to come take over. And so it'd be anybody who was strongest can take over. And so we had a government to protect the rights of the people, and in order to do that, we had to have a system of justice so that any transgressors could be punished and probably cause a deterrent for them to not commit crimes or any transgressions in the first place. Ensure domestic tranquility. Now what they meant by domestic tranquility was to have the several states not have the larger states kind of impose their will on the smaller ones and have rivalries amongst some states. To have, you can have commercial tariffs between the states, which is eliminated in the Constitution. We'll see later. And so the kind of like we would all get along as a union, we would not have really rivalries amongst the states. We do have it, but it's very minor. A lot of times in college sports we have it, but that was kind of what they meant by the domestic tranquility.
Provide for the common defense.
Now, our common defense was the idea that the best way to have peace was to prepare for war, and we didn't want to have really a standing army. We did have the provision for a navy, as we'll get into later. But the idea is that we are all attack on one is an attack on all. Instead of, like, say, an attack on Massachusetts was just attack on Massachusetts, and the people in Georgia really didn't have any incentive to, defend that. And we were going to say, if we're going to be one country, we're going to have a common defense. And it came into play, if you think about the events of 9/11. And there are many children now that I'm in school that weren't alive at the time, which is kind of like we're getting old. But 9/11 was not an attack on New York City. It wasn't an attack on New York State. It was an attack on the country, the United States of America. And we felt that. So we did a common defense, and we defended and went after the perpetrators of this, because it was an attack on all of us. It was an attack on the country, just not on the city of New York. So that's what I mean by a common defense.
Promote the general welfare.
Okay, promote the general welfare. We wanted to have a well-being amongst all of us instead of having, once again, the states having rivalries amongst each other. And that was a purpose kind of a general welfare, that we would try to have everybody uplifted and increase the well-being of everybody.
And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Now, we wanted to secure the blessings of liberty because liberty is a blessing. It's one of the inalienable rights by our Creator in the Declaration of Independence. Liberty is very important. Patrick Henry had the speech that ended with, "Give me liberty, give me death." And liberty and freedom are very important to the American psyche. Everything comes down to liberty. We want to be free. We won't want to be dictated to what to do. And it is a blessing to have liberty. And we need to have a government to secure the liberty. And that's what the purpose of it is. And it's a blessing not only for ourselves, but our posterity. That means for future generations. And we've done pretty good. This Constitution's lasted over 200 years plus. And with minimal amendments, and it served us well. Regardless of what a lot of people are upset about, but it has preserved liberty. We are a free people, and the only infringements on that freedom is members of the political class ignoring the Constitution. And that's the biggest threat to our liberty.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
So we established this Constitution. This is established. And if we take out the middle, we have "We the people of the United States of America do ordain and establish this Constitution." So this Constitution is a bottom-up. It was for we the people to be able to self-govern. And it was what they call the Great Experiment. Could such a large population be self-governed, have a republic? And many experts at the time thought that it was too big. It would fall apart. But as we see now, from the humble beginnings of this Constitution in 1787, we have become, obviously one of the greatest nations, probably the greatest. We still have our faults. We've got to work on. But we become the great nation that we have. and we continue to work on being better. And it was because of this Constitution, the way our government's set up, that allowed liberty to happen and to have justice among people. You know, we have had flaws, we've had scars in our history, but overall, as an American, I wouldn't trade being an American for any other person, and I've been in other places. So, with that being said, I wish everybody a happy 4th of July, and God bless.